2nd of the 2nd, 2026. The time is 23 minutes past 8 British, and that means, as always, one thing: that there are a multitude of F1-centric threads at which we need to pull. It is Mercedes, it is compression ratios. So too, we'll talk about Sir Lewis Hamilton, dates over the course of the coming weeks that you need to have in your diary. It will get techier than techie things. Toto, the boy who cried wolf, slamming all and sundry. All of the key antagonists, mention no names, team principals, Frederick Vasseur et al., who are saying that what we need to do is change the bloody rules. Why don't you fix your fudging car, says Toto, the boy who cried wolf. Loving this is he. Go on, let me show you this in the first instance. Here are the dates that you need to keep track of. Of course, that means that we'll get ourselves our first vista at Williams Atlassian tomorrow. Who really cares though? Who really cares? Can we have an open and honest conversation? I feel like I'm already liveried out. Of course, it was the Mercedes launch today. I tried desperately to watch it, but again, my attention span is too narrow, too fleeting. Couldn't get through it. I say we need to get ourselves some testing. Here are the dates. I won't go through them again. If you want, pause and you can go through. Here's what Williams put out as a teaser for their livery launch proper tomorrow for a car that's about a gazillion weeks late. Roll the clip. You know what, Jimmy V? It's not good enough, mate. For a dude that's been speaking ad infinitum about preparing a car for 2026, this isn't good enough. You didn't make it to the private test, in inverted commas, and now it sounds like your car's going to be slow, overweight and underpowered. It's not good enough, Jimmy V. Do you know what I mean? I can see Sir Frank turning in his grave. This is bringing the family, Williams family name, into disrepute, and they have decent drivers, so it's not good enough, Jimmy V. You got to prepare, you got to execute now. The time for talking is in your rear view. Oh, and by the way, speaking of talking, George Russell has had some things to say, right? Rallying cry settings, and this is going to get techier than techie things, chap. George, okay, in the context is this: Mercedes were quick to pour water on everybody's hopium fire. They didn't want to say that they were the most dominant team, that they had put in their due diligence and were prepared, ready to fight for a championship. However, George said that he's ready to fight for a championship and expanded, calling out the name of one Max Emilian Verstappen. Per Andrew Benson of the BBC, all F1 journos are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. George Russell said the following, quote, "I do want to go head to head with Max, and obviously Lando had a great season last year, but no, it didn't add any more pressure." What are you doing, George Russell? Be careful what you wish for, chap. You want to go head to head with Matt? Now listen, here's my own personal opinion. I think if there's a driver not named Max Verstappen who would be the best on the grid, not named Max Verstappen, then George has to throw his hat into arena. In my humble opinion, it goes something like this. You've got Max, a prime Lewis would sit right there alongside Max. Again, you're nickel and diming as far as the difference, but as at February 2026, you go Max, and then there is the rest. In and amongst the rest, you've got to talk about Charles. So too, you'd have to talk about Lando when he's had his Weetabix on a good day. And you must talk about George. However, George, I know your favourite. I know, given the current circumstances, if you do a simulation of the current Drivers' Championship 100 times, the bookmakers say that George wins 33 of those. Therefore, he's the favourite. I get it. We saw Singapore qualifying last year, where he outqualified Maximilian Verstappen to the tune of 1.5 tenths, changing brake bias over the course of a hot lap in qualifying 5 times, no less than that. That's impressive, ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury. I am impressed by him. It's one of only a few who've won F2 and F3 back to back in their maiden season both. That is chaos. He will win a championship one day. This might happen this year. However, George, with all of that said, I say all of that if only to say this: be careful what you wish for, chap. Because you know already that Red Bull Ford, if there's another power unit on the grid that's leveraged the cheeky compression ratio trick, then it would be Red Bull Ford. Be careful, King George Russell, what you wish for, sir, because I'm not sure that you want that smoke. I understand that he says that he wants to stand up for himself. I'm warming to King George now of King's Lynn, Norfolk. I understand that he's not. He's built differently. He's not going to kowtow or bend the knee to anyone, not least Max Verstappen, but chap, King George Russell of King's Lynn, Norfolk. You be careful what you wish for, sir. Oh, and by the way, it's gotten techier than techie things, you'll know. Let me put the context this way. For those of you who didn't listen to the video yesterday, Jonathan Noble wrote a brilliant article in which he said around compression ratios, the trick that Mercedes have weaponized to the tune of 13 brake horsepower and or 2 to 3 tenths, depending on tracks, mileage may vary. To that point, John Noble of Autosport, or the race, even, excuse me, Jonathan Noble, of We Are the Race, had this to say, that there were 2 meetings this week. One was set to happen today, at which they were going to talk about potential frameworks within which they can govern more accurately for this compression ratio stuff. You can't have these things happening so early on in the season, and then Mercedes in the hands of Kimi Antonelli and George Russell are 1,000,000,000 miles down the road. It's not a good look. The optics are not great. Monday, today, there was a meeting due to happen, out of which we've heard nothing. There will be another meeting on Thursday, and that will get techier than techie things, because the teams, mention no names, Audi, so too Aston Martin, Honda, Scuderia Ferrari are looking at Mercedes power unit engine. Like, what's going to happen here? They're going to be 1,000,000,000 miles down the track, and we cannot afford for that. But before we get onto Mercedes compression units proper, compression ratios proper, I want to show you guys this, because a lot's been made about Sir Lewis Hamilton going into 2026. The dude seemed super positive, didn't he? He said about the cars that they're easier to drive, that they're still a bit oversteery, snappy, but they're easier to catch, he said on the back of the private test at Barcelona. Let me show you this though. This concerns me. Now, many have said that Lewis, in order to extract the best out of him, that you need to allow him to go and sow his royal oats per se. Check this out.
C'est dans la Tobois, hein.
Ferrari!
Hey Lewis! Thank you for this!
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is footage of Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian. What are we doing here? What's going on? Look. Let me state for the avoidance of doubt, Lewis can do what he wants to do. He's 41 years old. Of course, he's got to start thinking about his life after Formula One. Do you know what I mean? He's got to start thinking about family and girlfriends and wives, if indeed he wants one, of course. But bloody Nora Lewis, Kim Kardashian, really? Really? Has he not heard of the curse? It's worse than bloody Drake. Anybody that associates themselves with the Kardashian family romantically, it never ends well for them. You go through the bloody list. Lamar Odom, tell me how that worked out. Kanye West is still going crazy, for Pete's sake. Chris, what's his face, the basketball player, not good. Reggie Bush, the list goes on. That family is toxic. And indeed, if you are Sir Lewis Hamilton, desperate to win your first World Driver Championship for Scuderia Ferrari and your 8th seat chart topping unprecedented settings, then I would argue that the last thing that you want, Sir Lewis, in your life isn't necessarily a wife or a girlfriend. Yeah, you can get away with that, of course. You can divide your loyalties and your commitments. But Kim Kardashian, is that what we're doing here? Are you beggars belief? I'm sorry. This is far too much. Far too. Let me know in the chat if I'm being too extra. Maybe this is me sunning Sir Lewis Hamilton. Maybe I just want him too desperately to focus only on F1 and become something of an F1 monk. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe that's not true. Tell a lie, take it back. I wouldn't mind for Lewis Hamilton to have himself a girlfriend or a wife, whatever he wants to do. But Kim Kardashian. Tell me if I'm being silly in the chat. I don't know. Listen, the odds of Sir Lewis Hamilton winning a championship on the back of this footage was just crazy. No money on Lewis Hamilton if he's associated with Kim. Oh, the humanity. I cannot cope. My sensitivity is too much. Go on, let me show you this then. Since we're talking about Toto and compression rates, let's get back to some proper racing. No more gossip, folks, and tabloid F1. This is important. You know already that there was a meeting. We spoke about it just now. Thursday and Monday, a meeting both. In the first instance, that was supposed to be a technical workshop focusing, per John Noble, on how to measure engine compression ratios when the engines are hot. There's been rumour that potentially they might install some sensor. That's going to be techier than techie things. That potentially they might want Mercedes to self-certificate, to self-certify. I can't remember which. Do one of these. Put their hand on the Bible and swear on it. Maybe another couple of issues. Energy, a deployment of energy. Maybe they might do something with those. There is a second gathering that's set to happen on Thursday. That is the Power Unit Advisory Committee, a meeting where the issue will be discussed at a higher, more political level. What they're seeking to do is two things. Institute for a framework within which they can govern this compression ratio, where they don't have a championship that's two-tier. On one tier, the top tier, you have Mercedes Power Unit cars and Red Bull Ford, who are leveraging this compression ratio nonsense to a lesser extent. And on the second tier, you have the rest, who will be 13 brake horsepower down. Mileage may vary on that, anywhere between 2 and 3 tenths. Lest we forget, there's an additional wrinkle to this. Because if you're running at 18-1 on track, your engine is running much more efficient. Therefore, you will have, in addition to the maximal output of 13 to 14 brake horsepower, it will be more efficient with full fuel, meaning therefore that you need less fuel in the car at the start of the race, meaning therefore the car will be lighter. This is a double whammy of an advantage for Mercedes. And this is why Toto, the boy who cried wolf, is looking at the other teams like, well, what are you guys and girls doing? You know what I mean? You guys need to fix your car. How about you stop looking at me and everybody else and take some responsibility? Fix your fudging car. Mention no names. Christian Horner. Here's what Toto's turned around and said today. And this is where it gets there. I don't hate it from Toto. Do you know what I mean? Bring the dog out of the trap, Mr. Billionaire. In the first instance, he said, perhaps the teams in protesting, and they are protesting, Jonathan Wheatley, Mattia Bonotto, so two Scuderia Ferrari by dint of Frederick Vasseur are having conversations with the FI and saying, oh, what's going on here? We can't have a dual championship. Well, it's not a good look. So here's what Toto said. Perhaps the other teams are looking for excuses for their internal stakeholder management, claiming that something isn't legal when what we're doing is 100% legal. I've completely shut that down here because it's a total distraction, especially when things are so clearly defined. If they want to discuss it amongst themselves, then that's fine. I believe the regulations are quite clear and we've always been transparent. Oh, the humanity. This is going to get techie. And he doubles down, doesn't he, Toto? He says it's very clear that what the regulations say, compression ratios will be measured at ambient conditions in the pits, therefore not when the cars are out on track. So just get your SH1T in order, says Toto. The power unit is legal. Full stop, new paragraph. Maybe you want to find excuses before you've even started, knowing all the while that Mercedes PU will be the dominant one. Oh, I'm telling you, I've never been more fearful. If again we dine at the restaurant of a competitive F1 season, I think, Houston, we might have a problem. All and sundry now are admitting that Mercedes have the whip hand. It's going to get techier than techie things. We're all going to laugh at the end of the year. He's nutting already one though. I think that car's going to be quick. Okay, whether it's the quickest and by how much, I'm not sure. John, you're an absolute legend. I appreciate you out here gifting memberships. And if you're a brand new member, be sure to get yourself over to Community tab and shortly thereafter in the Discord, if indeed you are that way inclined. Toto sounds like Horner regarding porpoising. Fix your fudging car, Afsal. It's reminiscent of. You just paraphrased ever so slightly, and I don't hate it, to be honest. I think we need more of that. And of course, Mercedes have every right to be fuming at the other teams who have dropped the ball. Some are saying that they knew about this, but they thought it was outside of the rules and so didn't do it. I'm calling bull feathers on that. If you're an F1 team and you see even a millisecond of advantage, then you seize it. But you don't ask. You don't ask for permission if you're an F1 team. You ask for forgiveness. Toto will have a meltdown if they finish P5 and P6 in Australia. 1000%. Woody's feeling himself a bit. He needs to chill out a little bit, I think, Nando. Coyote in the house. Do you know what I mean? Everyone just got a gifty. Come join us in the Discord. Delioro, you're a legend, one and all. I appreciate you to the moon. Back there will be another Peter D Windsor video. Predictions coming out tomorrow, and it gets techier than techie things. You guys, each and every single one of you, been legends, one and all. Between now and next time, the prosecution rests. If you have questions,